End of year list season has begun more on time than ever. I genuinely went through all of my videos and checked, and this is literally the earliest in December that I have ever uploaded this first end of year list. 2024. This year made me pretty happy, honestly. This was a good year for hip-hop, if you ask me. So much so that I actually had several more than 10 picks for this video, which is always nice. But I did manage to narrow it down to 10 with one honorable mention included. As per usual, keep in mind that this is for hit rap songs, so only including tracks that charted on the Hot 100 this year, because that's just how I do it. And I will be limiting myself to one song per artist for the sake of variety. With that being said, let's take a look at our honorable mention before we go into the top 10.
All these little rap niggas so frauds, and they be they hardest bars. These niggas hate on BBL and be walking around with the same scars.
Now, I know that the rapping on Hiss is good because it can be pretty easy for me to dislike a beat that has a strong focus on blunt piano keys. I don't know why, but it just doesn't work for me very often. But it does work here because Megan was so fired up, energetically ripping through the instrumental while having some lines that were presumably aimed at Drake, which were hilarious.
Cosplay, gangsters, fake ass accents, posted in another nigga hood like a bad pig.
And a line that sent Nicki Minaj into one of 2024's biggest spirals, one of its biggest crash outs, if you will, with a lyric that didn't even mention her by name, but was probably referencing her husband's sex offenses.
These hoes don't be mad at Megan, these hoes mad at Megan's law.
Overall, Hiss is a song with a fairly solid beat that is carried to being amazing by Megan's performance on it.
Right up on my gut, and that's a life tag. Walk inside the booth, I just talk, I don't write raps.
Look, Rocky fans, you're never getting the album. Make peace with that fact. But on the bright side, you did get a very nice handful of singles from Rocky this year, and Hijack was my personal favorite from all of them. Ruby Rosary was also a contender, but I just loved the open, airy feeling of this production and the way that Rocky matches the energy perfectly.
Fuck your hoe, cause she like that. Yeah, bitch, fat ass pretty, I might wife that.
I'm not necessarily the biggest Rocky fan. It's something I've talked about on my channel before, but sometimes he can just create a great atmosphere in his music, and Hijack is an amazing example of that. It's then closed off with an outro that to me reminded me a little bit of Brockhampton's music, which is always a nice nostalgic feeling for me. I miss that era, man. It's those pitched up vocals with that kind of flow, man.
But it's like that.
Combined with those beautiful Jessica Pratt vocals, it makes for a wonderful, vibey track.
I could never be nobody #1 fan. Your first #1, I had to put it in your hand.
I'm sure a lot of people would pick Family Matters over this track, but for me, this is still the best diss track overall that Drake released during the Kendrick beef. While Family Matters does sound very good, a lot of the disses, particularly the ones aimed at Kendrick, were pretty flimsy in my opinion. Whereas Push Ups is really solid from a rapping perspective and a diss perspective for me. Drake glides pretty well over the piano loop that the instrumental is based around, with disses targeting Kendrick, Future, The Weeknd, Rick Ross, that are genuinely pretty well written, clever, and funny.
What the fuck is this, a 20v1, nigga? What's a prince to a king? He a son, nigga. Cuffin' like I'm Ricky. Can't believe he jumping in, this nigga turning 50. Every song that made it on a chart he got from Drizzy. Metro, shut your whole ass up and make some drums, nigga.
I remember first hearing this and thinking to myself, damn, this is the first time that Drake's actually made me feel like this in a while. The way you doing splits, bitch your pants might rip, is the only mega corny bar to me on this song, so by Drake's standards, that's actually pretty good. For All the Dogs dropped just last year and was littered with awful wordplay and corny writing, so it was really nice to hear Drake sounding like he actually cared again.
It's a cold Sunday to complain. I hold it in until it rain. I fought demons out the fame. I spent millions on terrain.
I already know somebody is going to be in the comments of this video calling this particular track ass, but this is a really cool piece of music, man. I feel like only Yachty could make this type of song just like this. lyrics. Usually, his off-kilter flows can be a little weird for me and hard to get into, but with this instrumental, it just works, man. I think it's because this one is almost like a mix of Let's Start Here Yachty, along with a more rapping style of track, and I think that sound actually complements Yachty's voice and flow really nicely.
I'm at M's off of TV like I work for Viacom. Doggy didn't stay for long, he left when the sirens rung.
Is the song a little short? Sure, it's the shortest one on this whole list, clocking in at 107 seconds long, and while I do wish it was a little bit longer, I still like it a lot, so it's not a big issue for me. I just feel like he fits on this beat in a way that I didn't really expect him to, and that makes the track really stand out to me. It's such a cool song in my opinion.
I was bored by the shit, made $1 billion. Now fuck that bitch in the tree.
Yeat's 2093 album only had a couple of songs that became Billboard hits, but I'm really not surprised that Breathe is one of them. It's instantly bouncy and infectious, clearly intended to be one of the more dance-friendly songs from the album. I just love the pace of this one. It feels like it never really stops once it gets going, and Yeat rarely ever does a bad job of creating an atmosphere on his tracks with the ad-libs and the background vocals.
I'm cutting open, I'm doing surgery. And they line man go insane.
And there's also breathing sounds all over this beat that I don't really notice unless I specifically listen out for them. Also, I don't know where else I'm going to get the opportunity to talk about this, so I'm just going to drop it in right here. Recently, I randomly came across the clean version of this track, and I noticed that it has a slightly different instrumental intro than the explicit version, and the clean version does a much worse job at building up to the drop, man. I just had to mention that. I'm very happy that the explicit version that most people will hear didn't go in that direction.
I'm feeling better, I knew it was you. You try to leave, catch an asthma attack. Time that we spend, we gon' cherish it.
It's hard to pick one Future song for this list, considering that he dropped 3 projects this year, and I'm pretty sure almost every song from them charted. But I think this might be my favorite from all of them. It is right now, at least. It's nice to hear Future just sounding smooth as hell on a beautiful sounding track. His lyrics are also more sincere than usual, which is very fitting. I don't want to hear Toxic Future on a beat like this. This is pure love song Future, and it's a nice change of pace.
You don't look down at me, girl, when I'm crying. You made me wanna live when I felt like dying.
And those guitars during the hook, beautiful work, man. That along with the sliding synth are my favorite elements of the beat, but everything works in perfect harmony here.
Need you out of my stuff. Need you out of my stuff.
Not a surprise that Mike Dean was involved with a beat this good. Now, the more I listen, the more I feel like The Weeknd's verse goes slightly off topic, with a big focus at throwing shots at Drake and his camp. Which is funny, because on Future's end, it's a relatively sweet relationship song that it feels like The Weeknd could very easily match the theme of. But fuck it, Abel's voice is so sexy that he gets away with it here. And I guess in the context of the song, he's explaining to the girl that he's talking to why he's happy that he didn't sign to OVO and all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of funny in this song. But overall, I do love this from start to finish. It's just a lovely track.
Talk slick, one shot, all shit, forensics outlining your socks. Poor decision, mortician, outpining your box.
I've talked a little bit about 2024 not really being the best year for Cole, but I'd be lying if I said that he didn't still have some bangers. And Ready 24 might just be my favorite from his Might Delete Later project. How can you not smile immediately hearing that pitched up, soulful sample on the beat? And when the drums kick in, they have some weight to them.
Bitch, I'm on my shit again. I don't be sitting around thinking what I could have been.
It hits so hard. Cole does it justice, giving his vocals the same oomph that the instrumental has with some slick lyricism. Clean rhyme schemes, nice wordplay. I love the rapping from him on here. I'll be honest, I wasn't really sure of Cameron's verse the first time that I heard this track, but over time, I've really grown to love his heavy, older sounding voice on this beat, and I love that too now.
It's taking what I'm supposed to get, not all, most of it. Paper tags, popping tags, no tag, you know I'm in.
And of course I understand why he's here as well, with this essentially being a modern version of I'm Ready by the Diplomats. It's a cool full circle moment, and if you ask me, Ready 24 improves on the song that it's based off of.
I'm trying to make it regress, fuck them and I don't regret nothing that's about to be said, so fuck it, we can keep heading button. Still a grade 8.
This might just be the most effective track on the death of Slim Shady at balancing modern Eminem with his older Slim Shady persona for me. That does mean that a song like this isn't necessarily going to be everybody's cup of tea, but as a longtime Eminem fan, it certainly is mine. For about 4 minutes, we get some of Eminem's tightest flows and rhyme schemes on the whole album, with bars that push the line effectively without going too far over it with the tongue-in-cheek manner that they're pulled off in. I also think this song has some of the best Slim Shady voice moments across the entire album. Something about the way it sounds is just so good for this beat.
You was one of them children whose parents fed every meal to you on a platter and silver spoon. I am a product of what Farina and powdered milk could do.
Even the bizarre feature at the end doesn't drag it down for me like he can do sometimes. He has a couple bars that are actually kind of funny to me, and the beat is good for his section. There's one part that always stands out to me where it looks like he's about to have one of his over-the-top, going too far shock rap bars.
My girl needed an abortion. What you gonna do?
And I thought he was about to say something that was so gross that it would just ruin the song for me. And then the actual punchline was so tame that it genuinely made me laugh.
What you gonna do? What? Sell them Eminem Jordans.
Bizarre subverted my expectations with his writing here. A true master of his craft.
Man, the world gone mad. Her R. Kelly in the next Balenciaga ad.
Why does only one song on Vulture's One sound like this? It's like this one accidentally broke through from an alternate reality where this album didn't suck. The beat is incredible, Ty Dolla $ign absolutely breezes over it, and Kanye West, who is usually the weakest point of the Vultures albums, sounds like he rewound the clock about 20 years on this one. His verse here is classic Kanye. The second that he starts with "Who's not entertained by my pain," you can instantly feel that this is a callback to the golden era of his rapping.
Who's not entertained by my pain? Who ain't cash a check on my name?
It's funny as well because a lot of Kanye's content on here is referencing his recent controversies, which usually turns out pretty bad for me when he does it now, but on this song, he just manages to make it work. It's pulled off in a much more charming way. It doesn't leave a bad taste in my mouth, but maybe that's just because the music is so much better here. Similar to A Cold Sunday by Yachty, this song is also under 2 minutes long, but again, it's not an issue for me because I love every single second of it, and for this one in particular, it still feels very complete despite its incredibly short runtime. I've said it before, but it almost annoys me that I like this song so much, because in any other Kanye era, this would be another great song on an album packed with highlights. But in this Vultures era, it stands out as one of the rare few great ones. It was really tricky picking between this and Take Your Mask Off, but I think that Darling I just barely takes the cake for me. One thing I love about this one is how important it is for setting up the rest of Chromacopia. It introduces one of the album's pivotal themes about a monogamous lifestyle not being for Tyler, and how he's not ready to settle down yet because he loves going to different places and meeting and getting to know new people.
See, monogamy, that shit is not for me. One option for everybody, don't you lie to me. Cause honestly, T is not perfect, so how can I get everything from one person?
And my god, did he make an absolutely stunning song about it here. Every time I listen, I'm blown away by how lush and warm this is. The guitar strums, the synth jabs, the clickety-clackety drums, it's a wonderfully composed piece of music.
Darling, I keep falling in love.
I want to live in that instrumental. Tyler's singing is super smooth, his rap verse flows extremely well, and I know there's a whole joke at the moment about the government-mandated Tizo touchdown feature, but this track would not be the same without him. This man has a talent for elevating tracks with his features and background vocals. I know a song is special when just listening to it makes me mega grateful and appreciative for music as a whole, and Darling I has that effect on me. Tyler is one of a kind to me, man. No matter which way the general opinion on him swings, I will never think he's overrated. Musically, he's one of the best out.
Try cease and desist on I like that record. Oh, what, you ain't like that record? Back to back, I like that record. I'ma get back to that for the record.
Raise your hand if you knew that this would be my #1 pick this year. Okay, now leave a comment if you did so. I can't see you through the screen, you silly sausage. 2024 was an amazing year to be a fan of Kendrick Lamar. Even with him dropping a whole album where every song charted, and I really like most of them, Euphoria still stands out as pretty much the best song that I heard all year. I can vividly remember my first time listening to this. When I'm listening to music off camera and in my own time, I very rarely pause during a song. But with this song, I paused like every 30 seconds just because I was blown away by how much Kendrick was going in, and I needed to just take a breather and absorb it all. Each diss is delivered flawlessly.
Yeah, fuck all that pushing P. Let me see you push a T. I like Drake with the melodies. I don't like Drake when he act tough. You gon' make a nigga bring back Puff. Did y'all think of my life as rap? That's whole shit. I got a son to raise, but I can see you don't know nothing about that. Ain't 20v1, it's 1v20 if I gotta smack niggas that right with you.
And even now, I think it's a song that has aged immaculately. No poorly aged rap lyrics here, baby. The fact that Kendrick said in the opening of this track, right at the beginning, Drake, you will lie about my family because I rapped about my actual relationship issues on Mr. Morale, right before Drake proceeded to pull random stories out of his ass like Kendrick supposedly beating Whitney, and one of Kendrick's kids supposedly being Dave Freeze, is wild. It's like Drake took this as a guide on what to do, rather than what it actually was. Kendrick perfectly preempting where Drake was gonna go because he didn't know how to diss Kendrick. Not only do I love what it does as a diss track and how it essentially acts as a prophecy for the rest of the beef to follow, but as a song itself, it's just an extremely fun listen. Kendrick is so animated in his delivery on this track in the best way. It's not just about what he says. The reason so many lyrics on this song are infinitely quotable is because of how he says them.
You got shit twisted. What is it, the brakes? I hurt your feelings, you don't work with me no more. Okay, if you take it there, I'm taking it further. Psst, that's something you don't wanna do. Ooh.
He was having an absolute blast, doing what he loves the most. Hating Aubrey Graham. Meet the Grahams was more shocking, Not Like Us was more bouncy, but if you ask me, Euphoria still has the best rapping performance from the entire beef, and it is tied into one of my favorite events in hip-hop from the entire year. That is why Euphoria by Kendrick Lamar is my song of 2024. So, we're off to a good start. Like I said at the beginning, this is gonna be the earliest that I have ever posted my best hit rap songs of the year list. But there are still 3 more to go, so I'm gonna go work on those, and make sure that you subscribe and turn on those notifications if you don't want to miss them. Thank you for watching, and you can click right here on the screen to check out last year's end of year videos while you wait. Much love, guys, and shout out to all my Patreon supporters and channel members over there, with a special shout out to I Am Regent, KWG13270, Lucas1123, and Neo Striker.